Hello, everybody, and welcome to the February 8th, 2022 iteration of the Kubernetes SIG Windows community meeting. As always, these meetings are recorded and uploaded to YouTube, so be sure to adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct. Let's get started with some announcements. So first announcement is last Wednesday or Thursday was the enhancement freeze for the 124 release. I think that all of the enhancements that we're tracking are good. The next kind of important milestone is code freeze, which is March 30th. Because we're going to 3 releases a year, there's kind of a nice long coding phase. So hopefully we can get everything that we plan to get in also. If anybody has anything that they really would like to see in this release, but doesn't think they'll have the bandwidth to help make that happen, please reach out for help. The earlier the better. Next announcement, James, I think this is you.
Yeah, so over the last year, been working on adding Windows support to Cluster API for Azure, and we're finally at a point where we're able to run all of the end-to-end tests against Cluster API for Azure for Containerd, and we're just announcing the intent to move our AKS engine cluster configs to Cluster API for Azure. This allows us to be on a CNCF project instead of AKS engine. And so, yeah, really excited about finally getting here. I opened up a PR to TestGrid to add this to our Signal dashboard. And then in 2 weeks' time, I'm hoping to switch that over from the release informing dashboard that we have AKS engine on right now. That'll give us enough time before code freeze and test freeze to make sure it stays stable.
Great work. It's been a long journey to get it, Cluster API and everything all ready for this. So nice to see.
So if you have any questions or comments or concerns, please reach out to me. Otherwise, we'll be making that move.
All right. Yep. Yeah. So 2 weeks from now, we'll start, triaging that, especially during our work week. Probably shouldn't affect most users, but the people who come to the triage meeting will start looking at those results more. Does anybody have any other announcements? If not, we can move in onto some of the agenda items. Okay, no. Jay, is this you? This Windows CNI plugin, or some other folks from, looks to be Andrea related.
Somebody asked me to look into this, and then it was somebody named what's his name? I forgot. Somebody asked me to bring this up. So I think the overall ask was about the CNI check, and my first question here is: Do we in general implement CNI check in Windows CNI providers? I don't even know. That's kind of the first sort of starter question, and then I think there might be other questions after that. I think it was Guru Charan was asking about it. Yeah, Guru Charan was asking.
Do you know, were they asking about it in Slack, or?
He was asking about it in upstream Kubernetes Slack, but he was asking in the Antria room.
Okay.
And so I just don't know, like, does Calico implement a CNI check? Is this normal to implement it in Windows CNI? Is this something we should look into? If anybody knows, it's just the initial start of a discussion. If nobody knows, that's fine.
Yeah, it looks like this is kind of an old issue, and a couple of people have commented are on the call. David, would you be able to comment on this?
Yeah, the Windows CNI plugins, they don't actually implement the CNI check, although it could be implemented in theory. There's no limitation, I think, from an operating system perspective as to why it would not be possible to implement it. It just hasn't been done yet.
Okay. 4851. All right, and if we did implement it, would we have to change container D to take advantage of that? I think like we don't use it in container D for Windows. Is that what's going on? Like I'm.
I guess the question is, if we had the CNI check call, would that help resolve the issue?
So this was the reason this was an issue was because there's like a race condition that we saw. That what happens is, and this is sort of specific to Antria, like Antria needs to wait until the NIC is up. But I think that there was a similar issue in Calico because I think we filed one here. And this went back and forth, and I think they wound up having it. Yeah, so they actually had to solve this in Calico also once they moved to Container D, because in general, I think Container D doesn't call check for Windows. So I guess it's two questions. So I guess two questions. I'll write this in the issue. Two questions.
Is the issue still open with Calico? Because I think, James, aren't we using Calico with Container D?
I think the race condition was related to attaching the VNIC to the OVS bridge. And I thought Calico was using the Hyper-V switch.
I think what
Oh, so OVS specific.
I think in Calico, what they wound up doing was they wound up doing the same thing which we do in Antray, which is starting a go function and then polling until the CNI is up, which was really hacky, I think. But I think both CNIs did that, but I don't know. But I think that's kind of what they both did. And the only, yeah. So, okay, I updated the issue and yeah. This is an interesting thing if folks want to learn about Container D and see how it attaches to things and what it does before a container starts and what API calls it makes and stuff. This would be a really cool thing to dig into and you'd learn a lot.
Well, are there any next steps for this issue then? This issue has been open for quite a while.
I mean, hopefully maybe someone will answer that other question. It's a Container D issue, so I don't know who runs Container D and how often they check these things, but Rui does not work on Antria anymore.
Okay.
The people who discovered this were me and Perry and Rui, and Perry and Rui are sort of both doing other things right now, so we'll just have to we'll just have to let this sit. But folks ever want to talk about it, feel free to just ping me in the SIG Windows Slack channel and yeah.
Yeah, I think from a operating system standpoint as well, we wanted to look at possibly moving the VNIC creation to an earlier point in time so that there would be no workarounds needed, or at least the switch port creation to the endpoint creation, so you don't have to poll for it. But we kind of still have to figure out the roadmap for that.
Yeah.
So I'll keep you updated on that. We're kind of trying to gauge, sort out what work we want to work on over the next, 6 months or so. So by the next month, we should have scheduled or give a more knowledgeable answer if that could be changed as well.
So maybe you, me, and Ameem could sync up, and other folks could come also, because we're looking at a lot of Windows upstream networking priorities on our end too, and maybe we could divide and conquer things. And so, yeah, let's talk more about this.
Makes sense. Anything else to say on this issue? Or should we just, check back in a month or two? And let folks.
I will let yeah, I'll update a Slack thread on this. I'll ping Grunge.
Okay. Cool. Sounds good. Thanks for staying on top of that, everybody. Next agenda item, I just added this. I know a while ago we had talked about restructuring a lot of the Windows docs on the Kubernetes website. We're taking a go at that now. The first kind of big issue is something Brendan opened a PR and I've added onto it a little bit. We're working on breaking up that massive introduction to Kubernetes on Windows page in the website, and splitting that out into different pages and finding a place where those pages, like finding the appropriate place for those pages to live. And then after that, we're planning on going through and updating all of the individual pages for accuracy and updates. But we think it'd be much easier to do if we can break that big page up first. And this is just going to target the dev 124 branch. So these changes should go into effect with the 124 release. Yeah, if anybody has any comments or strong opinions on where they think some of that, like those topics should land within the structure of the website, please take a look at this review and comment. I think it's all, nothing's set in stone yet too, and the more eyes we can get on it, the better documentation we can have too. So that's all I'll say about that right now, unless other people want to talk about it. Does anybody, have anything else to add to the agenda? Should we keep going? Should we go into the pairings?
I will just like to say I got a PR up for a chart for Windows GMSA. There's some changes that still need to happen, but if anybody wants to pull it down and test it in their environment or give it a spin, that'd be greatly appreciated. Because everybody has things a little different set up. So
Yeah,
I think we're going to be testing it on our end.
Okay.
I did see that too. I have not had a chance to look at it yet this week, but hopefully I will.
yeah, and I got some tests to do and some build stuff to kind of incorporate, but I wanted to get it up for people to kind of look at and give feedback on.
Thanks for taking care of that.
Yeah, it's a little rough, but that's what I get for doing it late at night, trying to get things situated. And then I followed the pattern in the CSI SIG stuff because they have Helm repos for all of their drivers, and they kind of lay out their thing the same way. So I just followed that. So if anybody has a problem with that or wants it different, just let me know.
If it's working for all the CSI repositories, I think we can make it work for us too. Cool, yeah, thanks. I do want to take a look at that and hopefully start using that. I think that'll be nice to have. All right. Anything else? Not. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording now. And then we can hand it over to whoever wants to lead the pairing.